Hello and welcome to The Radical. I'm Christina.
And I'm Nicole. On our podcast, we delve into the roots of metaphysical wisdom.
That's right, Nicole. Our podcast is all about exploring those fundamental truths and practices that nourish your mind, body, and spirit.
Yes, Christina, we want to make metaphysical concepts easy to understand and accessible, especially for those who don't have a ton of time to do all the research.
Right? We'll do the research as well as share our experiences and perspectives, hoping to empower you, our listener, to find balance and magic in your day-to-day.
Inspired by the essence of the word radical, proceeding from the root, let's explore the roots of well-being and self-healing together.
This is The Radical with Christina and Nicole, two metaphysical girls in the material world.
Hello and welcome to The Radical. I'm Nicole.
And I'm Christina.
Today on our podcast, we are talking about Sagittarius. Not all those who wander are lost.
Oh, you like that one?
Yes.
You know, I'm a big Lord of the Rings fan and a huge Tolkien fan. I don't know if that's come up in our podcast yet, but it will come up as we continue on. And I was like going through all the things I was thinking about Sagittarius, about travel and about wisdom and about, philosophy. And I was like, wait a minute. What if it's this one? Does that one sound good? I'm glad you like it.
Yes, very fitting for Sagittarius. We have a list prepared for you listeners. We're going to tackle that in the first segment. We're going to move on to some broader thoughts on Sagittarian energy in the second segment. And like always, we will wrap up the episode with some tarot cards. I have a new deck for my travels, so I'm excited to use that and read the messages from the universe today.
I'm going to start the list. We're just going to get into it.
Yes.
I'm feeling a little all over the place today. So what do? You just make a list and stick to it. That's what we're doing today. We're going to stick to the list. We're talking about Sagittarius, the astrological sign from November 23rd to December 24th. That is under the tropical zodiac. The sun transits this sign between approximately November 22nd and December 21st. Sagittarius is the 9th astrological sign and spans 240 to 270th degrees of the zodiac. The dates within this time frame, November 23rd to December 24th, all kinds of things are happening. We have Thanksgiving is basically an American holiday, right? Do other countries celebrate Thanksgiving? We're going to have a podcast coming up on that. Hallmark holidays, look for it. We'll delve into it. That's November 28th. December 1st, new moon in Sagittarius. It's a celestial event that brings forth the concepts of courage, understanding, and awareness. As the moon aligns with the adventurous and philosophical sign of Sagittarius, it encourages us to embrace these qualities in our lives. So that's at December 1st. I love things that start on the first day of the month.
I was just thinking the same thing, that this is the second month in a row now that we have a new moon on the first day of the month.
I like those. 15th of December is the cold full moon in Gemini. And then the 21st of December, Yule, the winter solstice. And this is a winter festival celebrating the return of the sun god after a long period of darkness. So as we're recording this, we're in the first week of November, and I feel the days getting shorter, like every day. I mean, we just did have a time change, and then we did just have daylight savings, but I'm like, it's starting to get dark so early that I'm wanting to get up earlier, but this is when every day gets shorter and shorter and shorter. So by the time Yule comes around December 21st. We're just like so happy, so ready to celebrate, so ready to light candles and light up our Christmas trees and to have a bonfire celebration, because then the days are going to start getting longer again. So all that happens in our Sagittarius season. The energy of Sagittarius, it's the most fearless sign of the zodiac. Also, and we can discuss this more later, Nicole, I just got this. It's the only sign where there's a weapon in it, the bow and arrow.
Ooh.
Didn't we say the word like spiritual warrior or something about Sagittarius or somewhere in there? Anyway, more to discuss on that, listeners. We're going to let that percolate for a minute. But it's the most fearless sign of the zodiac. And the zodiac energy teaches us to share, open up, enjoy, give, receive, get out of our comfort zones, break boundaries, see the world, and reach out to achieve personal fulfillment. There's a restless nature with Sagittarius, always wanting to learn and discover. And they're very sociable, but not frivolous, and very interested in philosophy and examining how people think.
I heard Sagittarius described as the student, the wanderer, and the philosopher.
Yeah.
And my grandpa was a Sagittarius, and he was
Oh.
definitely somebody who was a lifelong learner. So it's helpful for me to see an embodiment in like a real person that I knew.
Mm-hmm.
It helps me understand the zodiac sign a little bit better. Yes.
The ruling planet for Scorpio, oh my gosh, for Sagittarius. Ruling planet is Jupiter. Jupiter, the planet of affluence, ambition, knowledge, wisdom, luck, and expansion. Now I'm going to go and say the detriment, Mercury's detriment is in Sagittarius. And now Nicole and I had a little discussion about the exalted and the fall. For Sagittarius, I found the south node is exalted and the north node is the fall. Also, Chiron, in parentheses, questionable, has been associated to be exalted in Sagittarius. The celestial body, Sirius, in quotation marks, questionable, has its fall in Sagittarius. So if you're interested in that, go look it up. Tell us what you found about those planetary characteristics and their energy associated with Sagittarius. The element is fire. Quality is mutable. Polarity is positive and yang. The chakra is the sacral chakra, Svadhisthana, associated with creativity, sensuality, and emotional well-being. I can't wait to do the chakra season.
That's going to be
Listeners, we are
so
going to
good.
nerd out on you on chakras. I cannot wait. The day of the week is Thursday. Thursday is the day of Jupiter, the planet of positivity and expansion. The energy of Thursday allows us to be productive and helps us to take care of matters that may have been lingering. Is today Thursday? It is Thursday. I got a few chores done this morning. Right? And it also has a lightness that helps us get things done. Thursday is a good day for me. The number for Sagittarius is 3, which is associated to Jupiter once again. I did a little numerology in here. Those born on the 3rd, the 12th, the 21st, or the 30th of any month are ruled by the number 3. And 3 is just such a special number. It's associated with creativity, communication, intuition. It has the cyclical energy to it as we look at mind, body, spirit, cycle of birth, life, and death, wisdom, knowledge, understanding, past, present, and future. 3 is a big number. Body parts associated with Sagittarius are hips, thighs, liver, pituitary gland, and anything to do with the circulation. The color is purple and dark royal blue. The metal associated with Sagittarius is tin, and that's because tin is the metal associated with Jupiter. And tin has an ancient association with wisdom, logic, and education. It's the metal of sages and scholars. Um, for magical uses, it's often associated with sexuality and the sacral chakra
Hmm.
because it's malleable. Because tin is adaptable yet resilient. It's durable and flexible.
Hmm.
The symbol of Sagittarius, if you've seen it on your smartphone, is an arrow pointing up towards the sky with a little line through it, representing the bow and arrow. Sagittarius is Latin for archer. The glyph is the same as the symbol, an upward pointing arrow for the archer ready to be fired into the future. And the constellation Sagittarius is located in the southern celestial hemisphere. It's one of the 48 constellations listed by the 2nd century astronomer Ptolemy and remains one of the 88 modern constellations. But from Babylonian times on, the constellation as a whole has been depicted as the rough appearance of a stick figure archer drawing a bow. And then there's fainter lines and additional interpretations of the body of the horse, where we get the centaur.
Hmm.
Because the story is, we just did the story of Chiron, is the centaur who was wounded and then was allowed to be placed amongst the stars for posterity, I guess you can say, in Greek mythology.
Yeah.
Um, and there's a lot of horse imagery and associations with Sagittarius. I didn't go into it because it's not relevant to what we're using, like where we are in like a Sagittarius as an astrological sign and energy in the birth chart. But it's fascinating historically how the archer and the horse and Sagittarius are tied together.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, look that up if that piques your interest. And Sagittarius rules the 9th house, which is leave the house, travel, see the world, and get out of themselves. Religion, philosophy, and travel in the 9th house.
I also heard this called the House of Purpose, having a theme
Mm.
of direction. We get that imagery of the archer drawing the bow. You're directing your energy, your purpose in a particular direction. And the houses are so new to me. I really didn't consider them too much until we
Mm-hmm.
started doing this podcast. So I looked at one of my birth charts, and my 9th house contains my sun and my Mercury.
Oh.
And in our recent travel, a fellow retreater mentioned astrocartography, which is plotting, I guess, these lines essentially on the globe. They tell you ideal places to live. And it was my Sun and Mercury lines that really
Oh.
were the ones that I came across that are kind of guiding me, I feel like, to maybe move or to move part-time or figure something out. So when they came up
Oh.
specifically in this research tied to the 9th house of purpose and direction, I was kind of floored. I was like, wow, these layers, these synchronous layers
Yes.
keep happening, and information repeats itself in different formats. So there's something there for me to pay attention to, for sure.
And that is definitely Sagittarius energy, right? In the ninth house with those planets. We're gonna add astrocartography to the list, the master list of
Yeah.
podcasts. So I just barely looked at mine and I had a few like thunderbolts of like, what? The virtues of our Sagittarius individuals, but also Sagittarius energy. They are optimistic, sincere, open minded, tolerant, sociable, generous, free, adventurous, freedom seeking, curious, studious, outgoing, and friendly. You always got to get the other side of the coin, the flaws. Wasteful, exaggerated, impatient, irritable, irresponsible, eccentric, extreme, reckless, clumsy. I love this one, inopportune.
Hmm.
Doesn't that just sum up like a whole thing? That is an inopportune moment or an inopportune time, and
Mm-hmm.
disorderly. So the highs and the lows, the high vibration and the low vibration of Sagittarius energy in individuals, but also you might start feeling one of these two ways during Sagittarius season. So just be aware. A lot starts happening once we start entering the holiday season, which Samhain has already passed, Halloween has already passed. So we are kind of in the thick of it. You start seeing decorations, you start seeing people's moods shift, you start seeing a different sort of social contract and social commitments begin to arise. So just be aware if you start feeling impatient or irritable, check the date and find a way to kind of release some of that low vibration Sagittarius energy. Because I often feel very irritable around the holiday season.
Yes, we are doing an episode on that next, our Hallmark Holidays episode. So we'll
I know.
save further comments
I
as
will
best we
save
can.
my irritation. I will save my irritation for that podcast. For my what is it called? Soapbox?
Yeah,
Soapbox? When you
yeah.
want to have a moment and I just want to say.
I call it my TED Talk.
Oh, yes. Is that the generational? I'm still on a soapbox and you're already digital. Okay, tarot cards. Temperance. That's the big one and the major arcana. Balance, moderation, patience, purpose, and combination. I want to say just a few things about temperance in my master little tarot here is that temperance is a fire card, and it's also integration, soul alchemy, and forging. You know how you have to temper a blade, that you have to like hone or forge something to make it sharp?
Yes.
That energy is also in this card. If that makes sense to you. That made sense to me. I read that interpretation recently and it was like a light bulb went off in my brain because it's a fire card, because it's Sagittarius the Archer. And then you look at this Temperance card, which is often, just kind of beautiful and it looks balanced. And I wasn't getting the deeper meaning. Opposing thoughts and ideas held and blended in unexpected ways. Yin and yang, and space between spirit and earth, silence and fluidity. So, more on that temperance card. Look it up. Lots of different interpretations. It's also called healing, renewal, and art. The reverse of this card is imbalance, excess, self healing, and realignment. And the question to ask yourself if you're resistant to this card is, how can I listen?
I also want to read from my tarot book because I
Yes.
really liked this definition as well. There's a lot of similarities to what you shared, Christina, and it is about taking action, but also being in balance with the universal forces around us. So, it says Temperance reveals a promising path forward, but one that requires us to reach out for assistance from the divine. An angel stands with 1 foot on land and 1 foot in the water as they pour water back and forth between cups. And that sentence describes the image on the traditional tarot card. The water appears to flow in both directions at once, representing the process of alchemy, wherein the impossible becomes possible through a connection with the divine. This card tells you that if you choose a path of thoughtful moderation, the divine will support you by taking action on your behalf. This is how alchemy works in the spiritual realm. The reverse meaning suggested in this book is looking at a situation and asking yourself, am I trying too hard or forcing something instead of relaxing and letting it unfold in divine timing?
Yes. Maybe I needed this card today. As I'm sitting here so I'm sitting here listening to this, I'm like, I think I needed to hear this today. This Temperance card. There's 3 cards in the minor arcana. They're wand cards. The 8 of Wands is Mercury in Sagittarius, and that's change, movement, quick decisions, and news. Speed, trust and release attachment to the outcome. And the reverse question you can ask yourself if you get this card in reverse is, how can I approach this differently? Because the reverse might mean that you feel like you're stuck, that you're not moving forward. The 9 of Wands is Moon in Sagittarius. I love this card. I get this card all the time. I relate to it. I get it. In the classic, do you know this card? In the classic, it's a person holding the wand and they have like all the other wands in the ground and they have a bandage around their head.
Mm-hmm.
I relate to that so deeply that the world has like knocked me about. My forehead is bleeding. I'm kind of leaning on my staff, but I have my wall up. I have my boundaries set. And this card, resilience, grit, last stand, and stamina. Strength, daring, manifestation, pushing past what is possible. Experience breeds confidence, and strength and knowledge through embraced challenges. So that is the 9 of Wands, Moon in Sagittarius. The question you could ask yourself if you're resistant to this card or its reverse is, how can I change my course? Okay, and then 10 of Wands, Saturn in Sagittarius. Lessons from Saturn. Responsibility, burden, struggle, overextending. But it also could be a culmination, a cycle is complete, a journey begun after a shift in priorities. Because in this one, the picture is the figure carrying all 10 wands. But it could be also like, hey, sometimes you gotta pick it up and go. You gotta pick up and move. Setting out on a new path. It's the body regenerating, new adventure, embracing responsibility. I know a lot of times this card is just burden, but look a little past that. And the question you can ask yourself if this card is reversed is, how can I help those who depend on me? So, Sagittarius. That's our quick list. Or not quick list. I went off on a few tangents there, but that is just the energy of today.
We are recording this on November the 7th, and in our country, we made a big decision on Tuesday the 5th, and we feel feelings, but we are
Big feelings.
walking our path forward the best we can.
I'm gonna tell you, it's that 9 of Wands. We're beat up.
Yep.
We're leaning on our staff a little bit, but you know what? We're resilient and we're gonna keep fighting the good fight. We're gonna keep moving forward. We're gonna keep doing what we're doing.
That is the perfect note to end our first segment on.
Yes, our list.
Yes. Some themes and lessons that I noted dealing with Sagittarius. So, to kind of harness this energy this time of year, one way you can do that is to declare out loud to yourself and to other people your biggest dreams.
Declare your independence. Declare your resolution.
Mm-hmm.
Declare your goal. Oh, I like
And
that.
I like it too. It really, I think, the way Sagittarius is so curious about other people, can we find support in each other? Can we express our desires for peace and well-being and health and prosperity for all people together? Can we declare that in our communities for healing?
And that is
Yes.
very powerful.
Mm-hmm.
That we can get support from our community in that way. Everything doesn't have to be an internal struggle.
Yes. I think that's a great way to say it. We don't have to struggle on our own. To me, again, I think about the wanderer, the philosopher, the student. How can we help each other? Can we ask better questions of each other? Why are we afraid to tell each other our dreams? I know
Yeah.
I can be afraid because I get pushback from people sometimes. And it can feel discouraging when you're not heard or seen or understood. But find the people that you can tell your biggest dreams to and tell them.
Mm-hmm.
Tell them your dreams. And then when it's their turn to declare their dreams to you, listen and support and hold space. Send that dream good, loving energy.
Mm.
The next one is to choose faith and to keep choosing faith.
Don't get too dark.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we have to contract a little bit. And then when it's time to expand, we can expand, but we never lose the faith.
Right. And that kind of takes us back a little bit to the Temperance card.
Mm-hmm.
Our actions are important, but they're not the only driving force. And I personally believe there is a divine plan that ends in love and prosperity and abundance and happiness and joy for all people. And some days that feels confusing and far away.
Yeah.
But, we can't lose that faith. I think it's really important to just hold that close and not the other things that are so dark. Trying to keep that on the periphery and hold closer our faith and our love for each other.
Yes.
Sagittarius also asks us to move, to manage our energy. And we've talked about this a lot. Movement for movement's sake. Christina has said that before. Just anything that feels like it's getting that energy out of your body. Shaking, dancing, yoga, walking,
Mm-hmm.
a combination of many different things. And this one's really big. And I've been practicing this more in the last year than like ever before. But embody and think like your future self right now.
Whoa. Yes.
You can get really specific with this practice, and it's quite literal. When, I heard this kind of talked about first in the context of like a business course for women. So there was money tied to this. So if we are wanting to be a yoga teacher that can pay all her bills teaching yoga, for example, or you want to start a podcast and you want that podcast to pay your bills. So the person that is doing those things, that has the abundance, the security, her needs met, how does she make coffee in the morning? How does she walk through her house? That. So thinking about, who do I want to be? Do I want to be somebody who prioritizes peace and tolerance and being in a loving state? And if that's what you want in the future, you have to start doing it now and feeling that way now and moving
Yeah.
through the world like that person now. I would even
I'm
go
going
out
to,
on a limb and say that is, I think, a form of rebellion.
yes. Yes. Standing apart. There's embody and think like your future self now. There's a point that I want to make, and I'm going to remember this after we move down our notes a little bit, when I want to talk about the actual physical bodies that we have and how much power we have in every choice that we make, in every bite of food, and every purchase that we make for our personal selves is a sign or a way to connect with your future self and a way to
Absolutely.
express our what we want the future of the world to be like through those daily practices.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that is so Sagittarius energy, isn't it? That is
Mm-hmm.
so much what this is about. Because we're physically traveling around the globe, but we're also traveling through time with Sagittarius energy. We're also thinking about our future.
Yes. The final theme / lesson I wrote down on my little list here is gratitude. There is just a plethora of information and studies and all kinds of just information about the power of gratitude. And that is
Mm-hmm.
one of the highest vibrational states that we can operate in. And so I would say being grateful is another form of rebellion in a way,
Yes.
because we have freedom in each moment to look around and be grateful for what we have, even when it seems dark and gloomy and scary. We can still be grateful for our friendships, people who support us, people who love us, you know, clean water, food to eat, a roof over my head,
Yep.
my health, my mobility. When you start getting back to the basics, like the bare bones, I'm like, okay, yeah, I actually do have hundreds and hundreds of things I can't be grateful for, even though I woke up on the wrong side of the bed.
But that's like I mentioned, sometimes your awareness turns in. You contract a little bit when you're in
Mm-hmm.
that state, and that's okay. Be grateful for that good cup of coffee and be grateful that, your car is running today or whatever it might be. And then when the time is right, expand out.
Right.
It's okay for us to go back and forth. It's not a sign of retreat. It's not a sign of retreat. It's a sign of
Yeah.
taking stock.
Yeah. And that sort of flexibility and resiliency is like tin when you were describing tin.
Yes.
Connections.
We have to bend so we don't break because we're
Mm-hmm.
not going anywhere.
Mm-hmm. Yep. We rest, we don't stop.
Mm-hmm.
So I looked up Sagittarius in my birth chart,
Yes.
and so I'll just start. It kind of blew my
Just
mind a
go.
little bit, like I've looked at my birth chart so many times, and I will say I do love using AI to dig deeper into some of this stuff. So I have Saturn and Uranus both in Sagittarius.
Oh.
I know. Saturn is all about self discipline and responsibility,
Yes.
and Uranus is rebellion, innovation, and liberation.
Okay.
Yeah, to me, these are conflicting energies. Saturn and Uranus bring, conflicting energies. On one hand, I feel like Saturn's over here trying to adult, trying to do the things, have self discipline, be responsible. And then on the other hand, Uranus is like that rebellious teenager who's like, no, I don't want to adult. I'm, just rebelling over here. So it's kind of like I'm rebelling against my own sense of responsibility and maturity.
Oh my gosh.
You know what I mean? So the other thing I've mentioned before that many planets, I think like 5 or 6 of the planets, were retrograde in my birth chart. These
Yep.
two planets were both in retrograde in my birth chart. So when it's retrograde, the energies are more inwardly focused. This whole conversation with Chat GPT, I was like, what does this mean? Because it sounds like a big conflict. I was like, can you tell me more about both Saturn and Uranus being in Sagittarius in my birth chart? Because to me, Saturn in Sagittarius is all about creating structures that give you freedom. So you're kind of like the COO of your life, figuring out like, how can I be more efficient here so I can free up time and space there? And then
Mm-hmm.
Uranus is like, well, Uranus in Sagittarius is like, we don't have any interest in the comfort found in these structures. Like, we want to figure out a different way. Don't tell us what to do. Absolutely not. Like, again, it's that rebellious teenager. So basically, what AI told me was somebody with these placements might struggle to feel comfortable either staying put, or they may struggle with fully embracing a more free spirited lifestyle without feeling torn between the two. It's kind of like I'm always oscillating between like, I just want to live out of my car for the rest of my life and I'll just travel around and I'll be free and ha ha ha. And then part of me is like, no, I want a home base. I want structure, I want
Yeah.
routine. And then I'll be in a mood where I'm like, I want to run free. It's a really
Yeah.
interesting internal sort of back and forth, this little dance I have with myself. But now that I know it, now that I understand that about
I love
myself, I'm like,
that.
oh, that makes so much sense why I feel pushed and pulled sort of in this area of life so frequently. It makes sense. And it's easier for me to be like, I guess, more compassionate towards myself. Because that's what
Yeah.
information about myself or other people does. It just opens up like more compassion. I'm like, oh, I'm not crazy. I just kind of have this tug of war, and maybe I can be a little more lighthearted about it.
That is
Yeah.
fascinating.
Right?
Well, my moon sign is Sagittarius. And I'm connecting very deeply to my moon sign as I'm moving into this phase of my life because I am entering a stage where I'm retired. I have more time. I want to travel more. And I just am learning more about my birth chart and learning more about who I am. And as a moon and Sagittarius individual, I'm, like they say, fond of open spaces, travel, new people, different surroundings. And that is very true for me. Very adaptable and very adaptable to different kinds of personalities and foreign strange places. I was in the military for 20 years, and that's why I say I'm retired now. And I think a little bit of my Sagittarius moon might have been driving me even in my young time because so I didn't join the army because I wanted to fight in a war
Mm-hmm.
or run around in the woods or learn how to do survival stuff. I wanted to travel. That's why I joined the army. And I'm
Mm.
seeing more of my Sagittarius moon was driving me in that. Um, and that kind of carried me through a lot of the travels and why I enjoyed it so much and why I am so comfortable and I don't need a lot when I'm traveling. But there's always another thing. So it's in the sixth house. My moon in Sagittarius is in the sixth house. And this placement suggests that I have opportunities to refine myself emotionally. And there's conflicts in this placement. And the sixth house is ruled by Mercury and associated with intellectual rather than emotional processes. So having my moon in the sixth house may make it difficult for me to relate to my emotions, which is absolutely true for me. And then this note here is your emotional well being is closely tied to your physical health. This is the theme for my Sagittarius. My Sagittarius is my moon is in Sagittarius and my Neptune is in Sagittarius, and they're both in the sixth house. Closely tied to physical health. Regular exercise and outdoor activities can have a positive impact on your mood and overall sense of well being. And spending time in nature and engaging in spiritual practices helps to balance my emotions and bring me a sense of inner peace. And that is very true because my gateway into internal reflection was yoga, was a physical practice. And even now, Kundalini yoga and the mantras, like verbalizing mantras and singing mantras, there's a physical element in it, which I find really helps me get into my meditative states. So it's like, that's amazing. Having my Neptune and Sagittarius in the sixth house.
Mm.
Abilities tied to physical body wellness. Remember to take care of yourself. And this is very much the theme of me in this year is taking care of this physical body that I have because I haven't been taking the best care of it. But now this past year, it has been very much about taking care of myself. You could tend to be a spiritual workaholic, Find deeper meaning in everyday tasks. Being expansive and optimistic, very much how I feel. And Neptune in the 6th house is about an intense desire for healing and transformation, which is absolutely where I am as well in my journey. It says you can have a passion about helping others and find healing and wholeness. Might also be drawn to careers involving helping another, like in the medical or healing professions, which, yoga teacher, podcaster, talking about metaphysical stuff, I can completely see that. The takeaway from that for me, from both my moon and both my Neptune in Sagittarius in the 6th house, was that my physical body is a tool not only to travel, but also to assist me in being comfortable in my place in the world, to be comfortable in my own skin, and to be my relative state of health and happiness and taking care of myself should be a priority. And you would think that we wouldn't have to say this to each other. To drink enough water, to don't eat things that upset our stomach, to get plenty of sleep, to go for a walk when we're in a bad mood. But I have to tell myself these things every day.
Mm-hmm.
That was really an eye-opener for me, how closely those were tied because of my yoga, my years and years and years of teaching yoga and practicing yoga, and how key that is for me in my spiritual healing journey.
Mm-hmm.
I was born clearly, but when I was born, what if my parents had my birth chart read and they said, oh, she's going to be a yoga teacher one day? It was in the chart.
Yeah.
It was in the chart all along.
Wow.
Oh, one more thing. I'm going to jump down to this note here because you talked about the 1st house and I talked about the 6th house. So in astrology, the 6th house represents work, wellness, lifestyle. In contrast, the 1st house represents how people perceive you. The 6th house represents how you feel about navigating your daily life. So in that way, your body, your physical body you're born with, exists in the 1st house, and the choices you make over a lifetime create the body found in your 6th house. It's almost like the south node and the north node. Like this was like your blank slate 1st house, and then what we're doing throughout our life is represented in the 6th house. I had not seen that before, and that just completely blew my mind.
I'm going to have to process that.
Yes, because it makes me feel like that it's written in the stars, but also we have the choice. We have the choice to make these 100 little choices every day. Every bite of food, every sip of drink, everything we do or don't do is us deciding what our future self is going to be. And that's us exercising our power. Every dollar we spend, we're saying what we want, how we want the world to be, what we want the world to be. We have so much power, but they don't want us to believe that we have power. They want us to feel scared, isolated, alone, and stuck.
Yes.
That's a Sagittarius lesson. We have the power. We can make these choices, and we can create the future that we want.
Yes.
As an act of rebellion. I love that.
Yes.
As well.
Oh, such good stuff.
So Sagittarius. I love having a Sagittarius moon. I'm learning a lot about my Sagittarius Neptune. learned a ton about the 6th house. And this is how this happens, listeners. This is how we learn about birth charts and astrology. You do it piece by piece in your
Mhm.
own birth chart, sign by sign, planet by planet, piece by piece.
Small little bites.
Yes.
And I have my new deck here,
I'm excited.
getting ready for messages from the universe. I'm using the Medicine Woman Tarot. This is by Carol Bridges. And we don't normally read too much from these introductions in the guidebooks that come with these decks, but this one, or part of this introduction, I have to read it. It feels really appropriate given the timing and the climate out there. The drawings and the references throughout the book and this deck are oriented primarily towards women. This is not to exclude men from these lessons, but to heal a cultural situation where most everything is oriented towards men. It is hoped that any man using this deck and this book will understand the need for this healing. The Medicine Woman Tarot attempts to be good medicine. Part of its purpose is to supply powerful images where there has been a lack of power. Consequently, a man is the main character in the suit of bowls or cups, the energy of which is love and devotion. It is here that male power is currently denied by the technological culture. In all other minor arcana drawings, a woman is the main character. It is my purpose to empower women in areas where their power has been denied. The archetypal characters of the major arcana are both male and female. Where a stronger yang or masculine force is called for, I have used a male, but it is understood that yang is a quality within each human being and does not belong only to those of one body structure. I feel that the division of humans into two sexes is arbitrary. We exist in a spectrum of sexuality and body types. There are extremes at either end, but most of us stand somewhere in between. A medicine woman is any person who has recognized and actualized their female powers, acting with intuition, love, and creative force to make this world home for all generations to come.
Yes.
I think I want to read one more paragraph. The images on the cards are tribal, yet not specifically North American Indian. They reflect, in a sense, tribes of the future, drawing from many traditions which have blended in us who have come to create a new world. It is with great respect for the traditions of the past that I encourage the sacredness of their ways to live within me, while at the same time I honor the incarnation of here and now, where I am part of the creation of one earth nation.
I like that. Future tribes.
I know, I like that too. Future tribes. There's not going to be much to read in terms of the interpretations. They are really, really short in this guidebook. But our first card is from the Major Arcana, card 5. In this deck, it's called the Peacemaker. Traditionally, this is, and I'm probably going to say it wrong, the Hierophant.
Okay.
Is that how you say it?
That's how I
Hierophant?
say it, Hierophant.
Okay. This card, the Peacemaker or Hierophant, look for your opportunity to make a subtle entry into the minds and hearts of those you want to affect. Timing and way of presentation are of utmost importance.
I like it as the peacemaker. In my witch's garden, it's a crone in front of her cottage, and she's a teacher
Mm.
and a key holder. The Hierophant is the key holder.
Of course, we'll post pictures of the cards, but the picture on the Peacemaker card does look like a crone or a woman teaching. She has like students seated in front of her.
Oh.
But I really liked.
Any keys in the picture?
I don't see any keys. But the way of presentation is of utmost importance. And I don't know why this is popping into my head, but I was watching, I don't even remember what show it was, but like it's a woman and her sister-in-law, and like something happened to the brother slash husband, and the sister-in-law is, they're like at the police station, she's freaking out, losing her mind, and she says to her sister-in-law, like, they're treating us like we're hysterical women. And the other woman says to her, because you're acting like a hysterical woman. So I don't know, like I said, that just popped in my head. Something about timing and way of presentation are the utmost important. So we have to keep our composure and like our peace within ourselves. We can't let them, change us into hysterical beings.
That's it. We have the power. We can't control the stimulus, but we can control our reaction. Don't give them power over you. Control your reaction.
Mm-hmm. Our second card is the Eight of Pipes or Wands. Develop your art from stillness.
The Eight of Wands is a Sagittarius card.
Oh my gosh, it is.
We just did that one.
To me, this really speaks to having a meditation practice and tuning out so you can tune in, so you can kind of, I mean, it's kind of what the Temperance card says too. Take action that's right for you, create your life, and involve whatever divinity means to you. It could be the universe, it could be God, it could be religious, it could be anything.
Yeah.
How are we?
And our life. Go ahead. Sorry. And our life is our experiences.
Mm-hmm.
It is not an empty life of everything going good. Life is experience.
Our third card is the Three of Bowls, which would be cups. Enlarge your circle of spiritual kin. Which is kind of also what we were talking about. Find the people that you can tell your dreams to and hold space for each other. Love each other, support each other.
Yep. Mm-hmm. The Three of Cups in my witch's deck are three witches dancing around a Samhain cauldron with pumpkins and like little frogs dancing, and I always call that my my tribe, my community card. The Three of Cups, community.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just what we said. You just said it at the beginning of the second.
Mm-hmm.
Declare to both yourself and to others your biggest dreams. That's 3 of Cups. Community is there.
I realized I started this segment and didn't tell anyone like how many cards I was picking. You know, I just kind of dove in. So apologies there. I just had a moment. So
that's the way it was meant to come out.
You know, next time I'll remember to tell our listeners how many cards I'm drawing. So if you like picking 1, 2, or 3, but I think also it came out the way it came out because maybe these are just all for the collective and you just resonate based on what you heard.
Yeah. Everybody take care. Be safe. Take care of each other. Send us your emails, questions, comments. What do you guys want to talk about? We're here for you.
And if you are still locating your tribe and you have something you want to declare, send it to us. Email us.
Yeah.
Tell us what you want to manifest, what you want to bring into this world, what your dreams are. Email us. Tell us.
Yes.
That would be awesome.
We will be your witnesses.
Yes.
We're here for you.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone. Until next time.
Talk to you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of The Radical. The Radical is written and produced by Nicole and Christina.
Listener questions can be emailed to us at theradicalpodnc@gmail.com.
Our Instagram is The Radical Pod.
Music by Van Horton. His Instagram is Van Horton Music.